The rule for multiplying fractions is very simple. All you do is you multiply the tops of the fractions and you multiply the bottoms, and you get your new fraction. And that fraction, of course, you could simplify at the end to get the answer done. So let's try a problem. So let's try this problem. Let's try to multiply these two fractions. 2 over 5. I want to multiply that with the fraction, let's say 10 over 11. Again, the rule for multiplying fractions is really easy. All you do to multiply these fractions is you look at the tops. The tops are the 2 and the 10, and you just multiply them, and that's going to be the top of your final answer. The top of your final answer is 20. What do you do with the bottoms? The answer is, again, multiply the 5 and the 11, and that will give you the bottom of your answer. So the answer to this question is 20 over 55. Okay, so again, multiply the tops gives you the top of the answer. Multiply the bottoms gives you the bottom of the answer. So it's very simple. The only complicated thing here is to remember that that's the rule. Okay, and when is that the rule? The rule is that when you're multiplying. So multiplying is easy. Multiply the tops gives you the new top. Multiply the bottoms gives you the new bottom. Now, of course, you could keep going here because this fraction is not simplified. So what we talked about earlier, we could, if we could figure out a number that goes into both of them evenly, we could divide the top and the bottom by something and get another fraction that's simpler than this. So what I will do now, let me rewrite the answer over here. I will take that answer, and just to simplify it, I will divide the top and bottom by something. In this case, if you look at it for a little while, you will see that 5 goes into both. So I will divide the top and the bottom by 5, and then I get 4 on the top. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Do 55 divided by 5, that's 11. And the answer to the problem is 4 over 11. Now, at some point, people don't care too much more if you're simplifying the fractions or not. So if you leave this answer on a test, usually you'll get most of the points. If you're in a class where they care a lot, then you'll have to simplify it and that'll be the answer. But again, the rule for multiplying is an easy one. To multiply straight across the tops gives you the new top. Multiply straight across the bottom gives you the new bottom. Let's do one more example like this. Okay, so again, we're going to do another multiplying example. Let's do 3 over 8 times, let's do 4 over 9. So I'm multiplying two fractions. So the rule for multiplying, again, it's very simple. Multiply the tops, and that will give you the top of the final answer. So just do 3 times 4, that's 12. That's the top of the final answer. And then multiply the bottoms, do 8 times 9. What is that? 9, it sounds like 72. So that is the bottom of the answer. So again, just multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, and that's how you get the answer. 12 divided by 72. And again, this 12 divided by 72, this fraction here, can be simplified because there's a number that goes into both of these evenly. So we can see what numbers we can try. To me, it looks like lots of different things go into both of them evenly. You could try 2. 2 goes into both for sure. 3 goes into both. 6, so 6 even goes into both. In fact, even 12 goes into both of them evenly. So why don't we just divide the top and the bottom by 12. If you divide 12 by 12, you get 1. 72 divided by 12, I think that's 6. So that is the answer. Again, this is usually a satisfactory answer, but we usually want to write the numbers as small as we can, so we'll just simplify the fraction after, and we get this fraction. So last recap of multiplying: multiply straight across. Multiply the tops, you get the top of the answer. Multiply the bottoms, you get the bottom of the answer. And at this point here, the multiplication is done. So now it's just, can we write the fraction a little bit simpler? And that's how we can write it a little simpler. Okay, let's talk about dividing. So the rule for dividing fractions is to take the fraction that's being divided by, flip it, and then change the problem to a multiplication problem. And remember, multiplication is easy, so even dividing is easy. The only catch is you have to do a flip first. So you have to flip the fraction. So let's look at this example. Let's divide. Let's do 1/2 divided by 1/3. Okay, so basically you look at the fraction that's after the divide sign, so that's this one. And if you're doing a lot of divisions, just look at all the fractions that have divide signs right before it, and you flip them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fraction, since it's right after the divide sign, I'm going to flip it. So instead of doing this problem, I'm going to do this problem. So I'm not flipping that one. I'm flipping the one after the divide sign. I get this, and I multiply. So that's the deal. You change a division problem into a multiplication problem by flipping the ones that are after the divide sign and then multiplying. And then remember how to multiply. You multiply straight across. So multiply the 1 times 3, you get 3. Multiply 2 times the 1, you get 2. And that is our final answer. Okay, let's try one more problem like this. Okay, so let's do 2/5 times 3/2 divided by 1/4 divided by 1/2 times 3/8. Okay, I'm giving you a crazy problem here. Okay, it's a little long. But just remember the rules are the same. If you have any divided signs, you're going to flip the fraction that's right after it, and you're going to change it to a multiplication. And then once we're multiplying, the rule is multiply straight across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite the problem. I'm only going to flip the ones that have divide signs right before it. So there's no divide sign here, so that's going to stay. There's a divide sign here, so that's going to flip. There's a divide sign here, so that's going to flip. And that's going to stay because there's no divide sign there. So that times, again, when you flip, the division sign changes to a times sign. Times 2 divided by 1 times 3/8. And then to get the answer, again, you just multiply straight across. So let me just do that real quick. 2 times 3 is 6, times 4 is 24, times 2 is 48. Okay, 48 times 3, what is that? Sounds like 144. Okay, and then the bottom. Again, just multiply the bottoms. 5 times 2 is 10, times 1 is still 10, times 1 is still 10, times 8 is 80. So that's the answer, and let's not worry about simplifying it this time. Because the point of this part is, what do you do if there's lots of multiplying and dividing? Then you just flip the fractions that are after the divide sign. So again, the 1 over 4 turned into a 4 over 1. I took it and I flipped it. The 1 divided by 2, I flipped it, again became a 2 divided by 1. Then now it's all multiplication, and once it's all multiplication, you multiply straight across the tops, and that gives you the top of the answer. Multiply straight across the bottoms, and that gives you the bottom of the answer. Okay, so that's how you do multiplying and dividing of fractions. Pretty easy. Okay, multiplying is very easy. Dividing is pretty easy. You just have to flip and then multiply. So now let's work on the harder stuff, the adding and subtracting. Why are they harder? The reason why they're harder is because in order to add fractions, you have to have the same denominator. So for dividing and multiplying fractions, I don't care what the denominator and numerator are. I don't care. You just use the rules, multiply straight across, or flip and then multiply straight across, and that's it. Nothing to worry about. But you have to adjust the fractions when you're adding if they don't have the same denominator. Okay, so first, let's look at an example of two fractions that have the same denominator, and then we'll add them. Okay, so let's add these fractions. Again, notice that the denominator of both fractions are 7. So if they have the same denominator, then it's easy. But again, you got to remember the rule. The rule is not the same as for multiplication. So the rule is that if they have the same denominator, then your answer will also have the same denominator. See, you don't add the denominators. A lot of people think just add the tops and add the bottoms, but remember, you're sort of trying to use the rule for multiplication there. That's not the rule when you're adding. So when you're adding, if they have the same denominator, then your answer has also the same denominator. And then you just add the tops. Okay, so we add the 3 and the 2, and we get 5/7 as our answer. So it may seem a little weird, but that's the rule. The rule is we need the denominators of the fractions to be the same if we're adding. Also for subtracting. Okay, and then you just do the tops. So you just add the tops, or if you're subtracting, you would subtract the tops. So let's quickly do a subtracting example. If I was going to subtract the same fractions, since they have the same denominator, the answer again will have the same denominator, but you just subtract the tops. You do 3 minus 2, and you get 1. So that's the answer to that.